Welcome to Simone Love's Hour. Here we focus on criminal justice reform and a host of other topics. I'm your host, Simone Love, and I'll be here each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. here on redmediaradio.com. Thank you for listening, and please enjoy the show. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in today. Our special guest will be Mr. Zaki Malik Nasir Bey, an inmate who received a significant amount of time, over $40. We'll also hear from Ms. Crescentia Alasea, marriage and family therapist, who will give us her professional view on the mental aspects of incarceration. Also, we will be hearing music from independent artist Young Taz. Now, over the last few weeks, we heard from my son, Rashee Harris, who was sentenced to life plus 527 years. We also heard from Mr. Eric Cooper, a man sentenced to 70 years at the age of 17. One of the commonalities of these men is they all say they got caught up with the wrong crowd. Now, none are excused in their behavior, and they take acceptance. However, you have to be mindful of the company that you keep. I love that quote that says, "It's better to walk alone than walk with a crowd going in the wrong direction." So I make this plea. If you're a parent and you have young children, or if you're a young person that feels the streets are your friends, I beg you to listen every Wednesday at 7 p.m. here on redmediaradio.com, because I have made it my personal mission to convince you otherwise. It is not my job to entertain, but to educate and help eliminate the high rate of incarcerations that our communities are experiencing. So again, after the short break, we'll hear from Mr. Zaki, and later in the show, Ms. Crescencia Alasea, marriage and family therapist, and we will be right back.
I've been fighting for my life. 527 can't do it. Fighting for my life.
Hi, this is Simone Harris, star of Project L plus 527, A Mother's Journey, a docudrama surrounding my son's life plus 527 years sentence. Please join me in my fight to gain justice for my son, who has been convicted of a non-life-threatening crime. For more information, visit life+527years.com. We are excited to release 2 singles from our soundtrack, Baby Boy and Forgiveness, a collab with my son from behind prison walls. Available now on all streaming networks. Baby boy, baby boy.
This is a prepaid call from
Rashee Harris. Just forgive my gifts to my mother.
Baby boy.
Today is the day I get forgiveness from others.
Welcome back to Simone Love's Hour. We have our special guest here with us today, Mr. Zaki Malik Nasir Bey. Mr. Zaki, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story.
You're welcome.
So I was, when I introduced you, I told the listeners that you are currently serving a substantial amount of time for a sentence. Can you give us a little bit of history about that?
Well, I have been incarcerated for 25 years, and I'm under the Habitual Act, which is deemed unconstitutional and unjust. But I've been here, doing my time for something that I didn't do, and I got a lot of time, and I don't know what else to do.
How much time did you get?
I got 52 years.
And you were sentenced under the habitual offenders law. So
Yeah.
Give us a little brief history of your before you were arrested and given this amount of time?
Well, the history I got for you is that I had this friend and I took advantage of him. I didn't, the charges that they said I'm in here for. I'm not guilty of. I'm guilty of a crime, but it's not the crime that they said I am. I took advantage of them and used them and abused them. You know what I mean? And um, it was from being selfish. You know what I mean? Selfish and a lot of hate in my heart. So back then, you know.
Right, right. So before you started doing this before you were sentenced for this particular crime, what were your previous charges prior, that led up to the three strike law?
Well, I had the habitual. I had second degree robbery 2 times and forgery 1 time, and they used that against me. And the first robbery was that a man got robbed. A truck driver got robbed on the highway, and somebody told that I did that, and I got found guilty. I took a plea to that, and then the second one I took a plea to, and did time served. Then I had the forgery charge. I did time for it and got time served.
Okay. So before you were incarcerated, what was your family life, your status? Were you married? Do you have any children?
I don't have no juvenile record. Now, I had a good childhood life. I was brought up by a mother and a father. You know what I mean? I chose, I got older and started hanging around the wrong people. And that was my downfall. I started to be a follower, you know what I mean? Peer pressure.
So were you, so you say you had no children. Were you married?
Nah, I don't have no kids. I was married. I don't have no kids. And my wife left me when she got divorced 2 years after I'd been down.
Wow, okay. So you told us about your three strikes. So it was 2 robbery charges, a forgery charge, and then this last incident that led you to being a habitual offender, correct?
Yes.
So give us a little bit of more insight about that last charge, because we had as a part of the foundation, we had got some of your court records and started doing a little bit of investigations on our own. So just tell us a little bit about these charges and how you ended up being sentenced to the amount of time that you were.
Well, the charges, like I said, Robbie Williamson, that was my victim. He was a friend, and I went to school with, and you know what I mean. He was a white dude, and I took advantage of him and all that. You know what I mean. Trying taking his money and stupid stuff as going through what I was going through. But then, you know what I mean. I didn't have no care or concern about other people. And instead of him trying to take me to civil court, which he supposedly did to get his money back, he said I robbed him. His brother and them said I robbed him, and so that gave me, since I had robbery under my belt before, that gave me the habitual.
So you took money from him. You
yes.
Admit to that, and
yes.
So you took money from him, like he would have it laying around. You would steal it, or how did that come about?
He had it laying around and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And I just go take it and force him to give it to me.
Okay, so he ended up, I assume, calling the cops on you.
Yeah, yes, he did.
So when we read through the court records, it was for an amount of $50, if I believe that. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, I got a lot of time for $50.
So he said that you robbed him of $50.
Yeah, he said that I pulled a knife on him and robbed him for $50.
But you just...
Well, it wasn't even 50. It was 40.
Wow. So over $40, you was... and let's just remind the listeners, how much time did you get again?
I got 52, 53 years.
Wow. And
That's because I was under the habitual, because the habitual is a status, and it's not a crime. So, but the habitual is deemed unconstitutional. They already let people with nonviolent charges out already. You know, which I deem discrimination, because if I got the habitual too, and they got the habitual because they didn't have a violent crime, they let them go. But because I got a violent crime, they didn't let me go. That's not fair.
No, it absolutely isn't fair, and we always remind our listeners that, you know, if you're out here doing crimes, you absolutely positively need to be responsible and accountable for it. But the issue is the amount of time that we're seeing our minorities are receiving, especially to crimes such as this. For $40, you are scheduled to be in jail until you're the age of, is it 80, I believe?
About 80, yep.
For $40. $40. This is just heartbreaking. Okay, so you got sentenced for you, so you were arrested, right?
Yes.
Obviously. And how long, so you were arrested, and then did you take it to trial, or did you take a plea bargain?
Yeah, I took it to trial. I didn't take no plea. I told you I took it to trial because I did the crime, but I didn't do the actual crime that they said I did. So plus my lawyer, my pro defender, was saying he can beat it. You know, if I take it to trial, that he can. You know, it's just my word against his. That he can. Beat it. I took his word. I took my plea. My plea was 20 years, and I've been home by now if I took my plea.
Wow. But like you said, you didn't do what they said you did. You just you stole the money, but not in the context that they said you did, with a knife. And then from the court records, they said that you climbed up the building or something like that.
They said I got into, because I got burglary too on the same charge, and they said I climbed up the wall. But if I climbed up the wall, I would need at least a 12-foot ladder. And walking across the highway with a 12-foot ladder at 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody would have called the cops on me.
Yeah, because I remember some years ago when we first got acquainted with your case, we went out and did our own little investigation and looked at the building that they were stating that you climbed up. And I think we all agreed that unless you were Spider-Man, there was no way that you climbed up that building and got into the second floor. No way. It's not even set up that way. So I, 100% back you on that situation. So when we just tell the listeners how you actually became a supporter of our foundation and how you got involved.
Well, I called my sister up. My sister said that my cousin and a girl named Simone wanted to talk to me about my case because her son got a case similar to mine. You know what I mean? Under the habitual too. So I knew my peoples. I didn't want to deal with it at first because I thought it was some hoax or something. But then I got to talking to you and got to know you. You know, we went to school together and all that. So I found out you was good peoples, and we started talking and all that, and I gave you my case and everything, and we started working on that.
And so I wrote you a letter at one point in time as well, right?
Yeah, you wrote me too. You wrote me a couple of letters. You wrote me a couple of letters, and
you wasn't too nice.
First, I wrote you back and told you I didn't want to deal with you at first.
Yeah, you did. You tell us about, because I know we didn't talk about how you were emotionally when you first were arrested. Because I understand there was a lot of anger, and you
have 1 minute remaining.
Call back.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is you're gonna give me a call back and we'll continue that conversation.
Okay. Alright. I'll talk to you when I call back.
There's no love like a mother's love. Speaking from the heart, a mother guides her children through life as she tries to protect them from the world. This heartwarming, rhyming story will paint mom in a new light, telling children that their mother cares and love knows no bounds. Written by Simone Harris, A Mother's Love, available now on Amazon.com. Welcome back to Simone Love's Hour. This is Simone Love. I'm here with Mr. Zaki, a gentleman who was sentenced to 52 years, over $40 under the three-strike law. Welcome back, Mr. Zaki.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. So before we took a break, we were talking about when you first were arrested. I mean, when you first got incarcerated and how you were affected, like your state and your anger. Tell us some about that.
I was mentally drained. I lost faith in everything because I had a lawyer that didn't fight for me and nothing. Because the dude got caught lying on the stand, and I still got found guilty. I went to trial, still got found guilty. So my faith, I was drained, my soul was drained, and everything. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, because like I said, I am a witness. I read your court records. You were sentenced to 52 years over $40. That's just totally insane. Totally insane. So when I got sentenced, there was a dude who went out before me that had a criminal history under the habitual too, and he only got 8 years under the habitual. So when I went up and got sentenced, man, they told me all the time I would get, I was dumbfounded, Wow. And
Yeah.
we kind of discussed it before, how you got sentenced 2 months later, was brought back in front of the judge, and she added more time because they made a mistake.
Because they made a mistake, yes, yep, they made a mistake. They said, the prosecutor stood up and said, well, you gotta give him a life sentence because he's under the habitual. And my judge was like saying, well, I have to look into this. You know what I mean? And if I made a mistake, then I'll bring him back to court. 2 months later, that's what happened. They brought me back to court because he sentenced me illegally.
Wow.
So, I was real messed up about that. Because I had 30 years at first with 20 Mandy. You know what I mean? I would have been home by now. But,
Yeah, so we're here today, and so we're here 25 years later. Did you ever imagine that you would still be locked up?
Nah. I thought, like I said, I thought I would get out. I thought I'd be out. My mom got me a lawyer for my appeal. For my close conviction. And they did everything they could to get me out. And Delaware judge said, I wasn't sentenced illegal, and I didn't have no grounds for appeal. So, I didn't think I was going to do that much time.
Wow is all I can say. I pray that you I know that you had a commutation recently, right?
Yeah, well, this is my third one. And they said third time the charm, so I'm hoping that this will go through this time.
So,
my first.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I went up this time, and the first board recommended me for level 4. So last 2 times I had no recommendation at all. So hopefully that, like I said, the third time the charm. Hopefully I'll get some play this time.
So, for the listeners who don't know, what does level 4 mean?
Level 4 is when you go to work release and you go to a halfway house and you stay there for a minute. Whatever time they give you to stay there, you work, and you're free from prison. Level 5,
Okay, so level 5 is where you're incarcerated 24 hours a day. You've been
Yes.
the first two steps of the commutation. They approved you for level 4, which where you have like a work release.
Yeah. This time they did. The last two times I went up, they ain't recommended me for nothing.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I got turned down.
Okay.
This time, I'm waiting on parole board to call me. Then I go to the commutation board after that.
Okay. So
but the first board, like I told you, the first board, the MDT board, they recommend level 4 for me. They said it's time for me to go.
wow, that's wonderful news. We're gonna be praying for you. So once
Thank you.
did you have previous skills before you were arrested? Did you have previous skills? Yes.
Previous what? Crime?
Skills, no skills. Weren't you?
Skills?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Skills. Yeah, you talk about for work and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to job corps for plumbing. I'm an apprentice plumber by trade. So you know, I'm gonna try to finish that. When I get out, go back to school for that.
Okay, so you have skills. You're by trade you're a plumber, so you're ready to get back into society and show that you've been rehabilitated, which we all deserve another chance.
I don't say rehabilitated. I say I've been habilitated. Yes, I have. I've been habilitated.
Been habilitated. Okay, I like that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to share with the audience? Anything, messages that you want to give to like any younger people that may be out here listening that think that the streets are their friends and they think that their friends are their friends?
Yeah, I'm saying, you won't know who your friends are until you do something wrong and come in here. But my thing is, don't even come in here in the first place. You know what I mean? It's not the place to be. This is torture. This is mental torture, and you don't want that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put this on my worst enemy. You know what I mean? This thing it tore me down, but it brought me back up stronger too. You know what I mean? So, but for the younger people, the younger generation out there, the streets ain't for you. You know what I mean? Go get the education, get a good job, and you live your life. You know what I mean? It's too much going on out there right now with people dying because of the viruses and all that stuff. So live your time, like you want to live it.
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate those words because everybody definitely needs to hear it. I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. We're going to absolutely put out our prayer warriors that you get approved for your commutation, and we will be greeting you with open arms.
Okay, I thank you for having me on your show. It's wonderful that you got the show, so you can put our voices out there like that. People that's incarcerated like us.
Most definitely. So I'll be talking to you soon, and you have a wonderful day.
Okay, you too.
That was Mr. Zaki, a gentleman who is currently serving 52 years over stealing $40 from a high school friend. Up next, actually, we're going to be hearing from an independent artist during the break. His name is Young Taz. He's been in the music industry since a young age. He actually had 2 of his songs picked up by BET. This year, he will be dropping a clothing line and a few industry features and videos. You can find his music under Taz Bagabich and YOUNG Taz. Coming up next, hit record from Young Taz titled Inez. Make sure you keep it locked right here on redmediaradio.com.
I like this right here. words I can express, but I keep on trying till I take my last breath. You was right there as I took my first step. Even see me in a dream before I took my first breath. As I write these bars in my phone, I wept. How I feel about you ain't no secret. If I had one for you, bet you'll keep it. This my letter to you, check my thesis. My grandmom, better known as my nana. She knew I was a star since Pamper. She knew I was a whole ham on camera. Everybody laughing, first word was peanut butter. Family functions in the love, come from the stove or the oven. Macaroni and cheese, collard greens and the stuffing. While I'm looking at you, I know it never be another. Let's get one thing clear, Nana, I really love ya.
Step into your greatness. I've always seen who you are. Even when you doubted your dreaming, I knew you were a star.
I gotta give her roses while she can still smell them. Keep God first to my uncles, that's what she tell them. Take a second and look, here comes the lesson. Was a teacher for 20 years, grandmama, you a legend. Just put a piece on the refrigerator in the microwave, whatever you need, just ask and I'm on my way. You know how to keep a smile when somebody face come to the crib and get a fresh cup of lemonade. Straight from a tree that my pop-pop laid. I know you miss, I miss him too, it's not gonna be the same. Grandmom, I wish I can erase the pain. Family help you weather the storm, we with you in the rain. Always stress, I get my education. You and mommy know my story, I made it to graduation. I'm just trying to be all I can be. So happy you heard the souls on BET.
Step into your greatness. I've always seen who you are. Even when you doubted your dreaming, I knew you were a star.
It's for you.
Hi, Nana. I really love you, and you will never let me down, 'cause you will always be in my heart, even though we can't see each other. So, I hope this makes your day.
You are the epitome of a virtuous woman. You are a queen. You are mother.
Welcome back to Simone Love's Hour. I'm your host, Simone Love, and with us we have a very special guest, family therapist, Miss Crescencia Alicea. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to come on to your show.
You are so welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. And I know that you've worked with us with our foundation with inmates and mental health. But for the
Yes.
audience purposes, can you give us a little bit of your personal experience and professional background?
Okay, I'd be happy to. I have both professional, as you said, and personal reasons. I was an abused child. My mother abused me to the point that I was taken from her and given to my father's side of the family, and they raised me. She physically abused me at the age of 3, and I spent for the times that I was with her, and she abused me, it led to hospital stays. So at that point, I did not realize what this was. I was just confused because you're a child. At a certain point, my father had put me into counseling therapy, the best thing he could have ever done. And I started that at 6 years of age. So I am committed to the mental health wellness of our community, not the rich community, not middle income. The individuals, the platforms of low income situations that are dire and that need some type of foundation of positivity.
Wow, so your personal experience led you into this career.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Now, we just heard over the last few weeks and today from inmates who have experienced harsh sentencing. My son, for example, who got a life plus 527 year sentence. Another gentleman, Mr. Cooper, who was sentenced to 70 years at the age of 17 for his first offense. And today we heard from Mr. Zaki, who was given 52 years over 50, I'm sorry, $40. And you're familiar with his case.
Yes, I am. It is a tragedy, a sheer tragedy for that.
So, as we heard from him, when he first was incarcerated, he was very angry and frustrated. Based on your personal and professional experience, give us an ideal of an inmate's mental state when he is first incarcerated after receiving such a significant amount of time.
Okay, it's pretty much like the ending of one life to another, pretty much like a grieving process. The first part of it is denial. You can't believe this is going on. The second part is anger, and that's where he's at. Pretty much when a incarcerated individual is given a sentence, they pretty much experience a psychotic break. It's no more outside. You're considered a number. 3 hots and a cot, which is 3 meals a day, and a place to sleep is all you'll have. And Rashi Harris is experiencing this now, which is a sheer tragedy.
Wow. So, can you give us some insight on how these gentlemen can help cope themselves?
Okay, I'd be happy to. Coping has to come from within. When it comes to various families and they have a pretty much a regimen that doesn't have emotions in it, such as love, caring, when it comes to the fact that the mom is raising children by herself, they are used to a certain way of living. They see everything from the past. They're told that we were slaves and how we were treated. So at that point, that's their expectations, what they see in the community. So if they see a friend of theirs go to jail, they know, oh, they're going to put me in jail too if I rob a store, but I just want to do it. And it's the end for them. So that psychotic break tears apart their emotions. It pretty much is like ripping apart a person's entire emotional, mental wellness.
Wow. So, any coping techniques that you can suggest for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. In order for an incarcerated individual to have the level of self-worth, self-worth, self-love, and self-acceptance, one has to work from within. So the acceptance and accountability, okay, I have this time, so what can I do to be productive within myself? So this knowledge comes from this aspect. And when incarcerated individuals such as Rashi and the other individuals that are incarcerated, at a certain age, pretty much in the early 30s, they realize that this is the time that I really need to get everything together. And they start reading in school, the schools that they have in the jails. Unfortunately, the lack of knowledge coming from when they were younger has actually put them in this particular situation. Back in the 60s and 70s, there was Black History Month, whereas through grade school all the way up to high school, children, African American children, were taught things like the Dr. Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech. I asked a child a few days ago, do you know who Emmett Till is? And he said, oh, is he a rapper like Kanye West? I was horrified.
Wow.
But what I told him was that this 14-year-old young man, at the age of 14 in 1955, he was executed by individuals that did not like the fact that he supposedly whistled at a young white girl. So they murdered him. They tortured this young man. His mother was such in a grief state, but she wanted everyone to see what her baby looked like. So she had an open coffin, casket. The news was everywhere. It was broadcasted everywhere. You can actually Google it, find out the information. That is what happens. And we don't know our own heritage. Like our individuals, our African American individuals, we have black astronauts. We have all different types of environments that we actually can achieve if we believe.
Yeah, I remember the Emmett Till that actually happened not too long ago in 1955.
Yeah.
So our schools are not educating our children as they should, but we also have to take accountability for educating ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. We don't. What happens is that through the years, we have been beat down and beat down and beat down from generations back, from slavery, where we were treated worse than animals. We got up on a block and we were sold to a slave master. That went down through the years, which meant for our African American people that we didn't matter. We didn't rate as much. So if someone tells you that a million times, you begin to believe it. So our African American young men, unfortunately, there are 1 out of 81 African American men that will go to jail every year. 1 out of 81. That's a large number.
Absolutely.
But knowledge, if they had the knowledge of the Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech, Madam C.J. Walker, she was one of the first millionaire African American women. She came out with hair products because she had experienced hair loss. We don't know that.
No.
And those things actually are so important. Knowledge is power, Simone.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned 1 in 81 are going to be incarcerated. Right now, we have a prison population of millions. So that
Yes.
means millions of sisters, brothers, cousins, friends,
Have been affected.
families, and mothers. So, what is your advice to those who are dealing with family members and loved ones that are incarcerated?
Okay. Well, the first part of that should be structure. Families need to get together, and I'm not talking about just blood families. Your neighbors, your relatives. It takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
So if we had like meetings in our homes or via Zoom due to the current circumstances, we would get together and support our African American men that are incarcerated. Make a structured schedule where your family members hold themselves accountable to the schedule and they see their loved one 2 to 3 days. That gives them a level of hope, positivity, self-acceptance, self-love, and that's where we begin.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you because when I was growing up, I knew Mr. and Mrs. Fisher who lived across the street. I knew Mr. and Mrs. Hammond. And
Yes.
everybody knew my grandmother, Mrs. Jenkins, because guess what? When the street lights came on, she made sure everybody had their behinds in the house. And today, I barely know my neighbors' names. You know,
Yes.
it's not like
It's
it used to
very sad.
be. It's not like it used to be. So, any other advice that you would like to give to the listeners regarding anything else that we discussed today?
The one most important, well, it's actually two. Knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from the PlayStations. Learn who you are as an individual, where you came from, how proud you should be of for all of the people, for all our forefathers. The second thing is cross out wherever you see negative self-talk, negative aspects of your life. Look at only positive. Speak positive energy in yourself, because if you speak it within yourself, then you can express it with your children. Hence, single African American mothers that have young men that they're raising. Self-love and self-acceptance, if you teach them that, they will grow up knowing that they are loved and accepted, and they can spread that to others.
Well, thank you so much for those words. And if any of the listeners wanted to get in touch with you, what is the best contact information for you?
Okay. You would go to the website psychologytoday.com. My company is Alicea Therapy Services. Alicea is spelled Alicea, and my practice is telehealth because of COVID, because I want to make sure everyone's protected and safe. And you would be able to reach me. You can contact me, and we'll go over some information. I lead in a great amount of specialties, starting with LGBTQIA, going into individuals and families.
So we know that you're here. Well, I know that you're here in the Delaware area, but you can also service clients.
As far as I've talked to individuals in Alaska, I've talked to individuals all over the world, because when you hear of a therapist that actually cares and is committed to mental health wellness, people will contact that person and just get just a little bit of knowledge that they need to take them down their journey in a positive way.
Now, do you think that, although I know it's COVID that's keeping us with the non face to face contact right now, but do you think it makes someone feel more comfortable when they don't have to come and face you and they can talk to you over the phone or over Zoom?
Absolutely, absolutely. I will go to the limit when it comes to my family. That's what I call my clients, my family, because we are all family. And I am just making suggestions to you about positivity. You can talk to me over Zoom, FaceTime, all of the platforms that telehealth support. And you'll feel more comfortable in the comforts of your home, and we can talk. And you can be real, because unfortunately, in the minority population, therapy is taboo. This makes it a lot easier because you're not directly in front of someone. And the one thing I will always tell you, Simone, as you've known me throughout the years, and I've always supported you as a mother that loves her children. Virashi is so dear to me. I am committed to individuals that have been incarcerated for an unbelievable amount of years. So the face-to-face is no longer, just hopefully just a short period, but Zoom, all those over the internet platforms, we can talk.
Well, I'm absolutely excited that anybody from any place can get in contact with you, because I know that they will absolutely benefit from your therapeutic approach.
Thank you.
I will also be putting your information on our website, which is www.lifeplus527years.com. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Miss Alicea?
I just want to say to everyone, if you are raising children, I applaud you, as I applaud Simone. I want you to make sure your child is loved every day, every moment. If the other parent is not there, do not speak ill of that parent. Let your child make their mind up for themselves. If you allow this, they will see for themselves that their parent is not as accountable as they should be. And that's very important in our African American and Latino community. My office is bilingual, so I do make schedules for anyone that would like to come to talk to me over the telehealth platform. So you just give me a contact call, and I will be happy to talk to you. Simone, I'm appreciative of all that you do for everyone, your son, and all of the incarcerated individuals that we are trying to help be more positive in their lives and see what they can contribute to the world in a positive way.
Well, I so appreciate that. Again, I want to thank you for coming on and speaking with us today. We look forward to hearing from you in the near future to discuss other topics.
I'll be happy to come back.
Okay, thank you, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, have a good evening.
You too. So we just spoke with Miss Alisea, family therapist. We also talked to Mr. Zaki, who is currently serving 52 years over $40. So imagine the psychological effect that this type of sentencing could have on any individual. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I am Simone Love, your host of Simone Love's Hour. We will see you back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another groundbreaking episode on redmediaradio.com. Have a wonderful week. Ladies and gentlemen, with inmate number 468-385, please report for your orange jumpsuit.
Handcuffs on my wrist as I head up to the courtroom. Judge and the jury looking at me like a cartoon. Jury found me guilty, now the prosecutor laughing. Judge gave me life, 527, is this happening?
I'm not caught up in hypocrisy. Inmates are more than a number. They're family. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. 10 years, 20 years, life, there's more. Phone calls, visits may seem like a chore. Sisters, brothers, cousins, or friends, be vigilant, forgive, and we all can win.
They told me put her orange, but I really didn't want to. Physical appearance got me dressed up in the jumpsuit. Shackles on my feet as I eat bologna and orange juice. Prison life got me down. When I'm on the jumpsuit.
The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit.
The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. The orange jumpsuit. Inmate number 468-385. He is a person. He is alive.
Hi, my name is Rashi Harris, aka Old Man Izzo. This is my new release, Orange Jumpsuit. Available January 28th on most streaming networks. They told me put her orange, but I really didn't want to. Physical appearance got me dressed up in the jumpsuit.